Hello, and thank you for joining us for another edition of the Other Art Fair's virtual edition, where we will highlight artists who are participating in the fair virtually. These artists in particular will also be showing at Los Angeles's Barker Hangar and the Brooklyn Expo Center in New York. Today, I'm going to highlight three artists that are working in abstract and minimalist expressionist styles. These three artists, their styles vary widely, but you can definitely see the through line with regard to how they express themselves through beautiful geometric shapes that are somewhat restrained and somewhat not. So the first work is by Jaime Dominguez, who is an artist from Mexico. And this piece is enormous. It's 200 inches wide by 66 inches high. Gorgeous colors, and we'll talk a little bit more about him moving forward. Before I get started, if you have any questions about any of the artists that you see here, or have any questions about purchasing artwork through the Other Art Fair or Saatchi Art in general, please feel free to contact myself or one of the curators on our team at curator@saatchiart.com. You can also go to the homepage, and there is a field for art advisory, and you can enter your information there, submit your likes, dislikes, a number of other fields to choose from, and we will provide you with complimentary curation services. And it's a wonderful way to get started in collecting artwork. So the first artist that I wanted to speak about is Kat Huss. I've had the luxury of seeing Kat's work in person on a couple of occasions at the art fair. She is based in South Texas, has lived extensively throughout Texas, I believe also Mexico, and she's a self-taught artist. Having lived near the water most of her life, it is an integral part of her process and is often referenced in her work. So you'll see these kind of watery, lucid colors that are layered one upon each other. She says that her search for balance and her curiosity about the world and her place within the world is expressed throughout her work. So again, with the abstract expressionist drive there. And the physical process of creating her work mimics this concept, as it begins with elaborate, detailed underpaintings and finishes with many sheer washes of paint and only a few details or disruptors remaining in the final work. So she primarily works with acrylic on canvas, but she also incorporates pastels. She sometimes paints on wood. She will occasionally use graphite and pencil as the final touch. The visual presentation of the work looks minimal from afar, but it is meant to draw in the viewer and to take a closer look and find the details and textural layers in the underpainting. So you definitely do see this. From afar, they're just like gorgeous, these beautiful, deep, rich hues. And then when you look up close, you do see the layers and the soft, watery palette. So it is a really beautiful technique that she's using. She's inspired by human nature and the natural world. So these are some shots of her booth at the virtual fair. And if you click on any of these works, it will take you to her artwork listings, and then you will also be able to browse her entire portfolio. These are some works that are in her portfolio, but not at the fair, that I just love. I love this blue color, reminiscent of the water that she speaks so highly of. The next artist that we will be talking about is Luca Brandi. Luca is from Florence and lives and works there, Florence, Italy. He began, as all good Italians do, apprenticing in Florence at the age of 9. And he worked primarily with religious iconography and learning the classical style of painting. And in his 20s, he took a big departure and learned about all of the abstract expressionist masters and began to dive deeply into this world. So he has now made it his signature practice, and he has regularly exhibited over the years throughout Europe. We have worked with Luca probably since the inception of Saatchi art. He is masterful at what he does. He is rigorous, and his work is just beautiful to look at. One thing to note is that he does incorporate a lot of different materials. He paints on paper, he paints on canvas, he paints on wood. He also makes a lot of his own pigments, a lot of the metallic colors that he so regularly uses. He finds that he does best when making them himself. So he is deeply involved in the alchemy of the medium. And so his work, it ranges from these, color fields with the gold and the black to these very expressive black and white paintings. He also incorporates some rich hues like these blues. He has some gorgeous reds as well, as you'll see here. And I believe the work on the right is something that he has constructed on wood. The work in the center is a very large, I think 59-inch high, beautiful canvas painting. And for any minimalist fans out there, I mean, it just doesn't get better than this. It's just lovely. And lastly, we will return to Jaime. So Jaime's inspiration comes from architecture, graphics, geometry, and something that is really interesting is the indigenous world around him. So being a native of Mexico, he really loves to incorporate the indigenous culture and craft work around him. He has found that in his work is a reinterpretation of the tangible and intangible cultural heritage of his home in Mexico. The vibrant colors that he layers in almost a woven pattern, it can be found here. And again, as I mentioned earlier, his canvases are huge. I believe he is painting mostly on wood at the moment. I could be wrong. We will see some more of his technique in a bit. He said that he's always leaned towards a more minimalist style, but as time has progressed, he's found that his work has changed a lot and become almost maximalist in its restraint, which is kind of interesting. So here's a little bit about his process. It starts very simply, as you can see in the upper left-hand corner, and I think that the canvas is turned on its on an angle, and then it goes, if you look counterclockwise, to the next image, and then the last two are the final product. But really gorgeous colors, and those colors he makes his own using the indigenous materials in his community. And when he can't find the colors that he wants, he actually goes to the indigenous community and sources it from them directly. So there is a tie to his roots in Mexico. And again, they're just vibrant and dynamic and beautiful, and just so happy to have him at the Los Angeles Fair. So that is my short talk today. Again, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out at curator@saatchiart.com. I hope that you enjoyed these three artists and have time to browse all of the wonderful artists at the virtual edition. There are so many wonderful artists. And even more so, if you are lucky enough to live close at all to any of our in real life editions, London, New York, Dallas, Toronto, Australia, Los Angeles. There's so many more. Please come, because it is so worthwhile to get to know these artists, to see the work in person first and foremost, but then get to talk to the artists and learn about their process, learn about them. I can't tell you how much I've been able to I've gotten out of being able to visit these fairs, and I hope that you do as well. So thank you again for joining us, and we will see you soon.